Our next guest on Right Off the Bus for our Under the Radar segment is two-time Pro Bowler and the fullback for the Baltimore Ravens, none other than Pat Ricard. Thanks for coming on, Pat. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm excited.
Well, you're from a small town in Mass, similar to us, and you're the youngest of nine siblings. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's half brothers and sisters, so it's separate marriages. They had, both my parents had prior marriages and families, and then they got divorced, and then eventually found each other, and then they had a family, and I was the baby out of all of them. So I have technically nine. I'm the ninth.
So we're both the youngest of four, so we kind of get it. But so what was it like growing up as the youngest, especially in sports? Did you want to,
Yeah,
follow up in the footsteps of any of your siblings? Because I know
yeah,
me and Chandler probably did.
yeah. So my oldest brother, he is 15 years older than me. So I mean, when it came to sports, competing with my siblings, it really only was my true blood brother, my full brother, who's only 2 years older than me. Besides that, I have my brother Mike, who didn't play sports. He's 6 years older. None of my sisters were really that athletic. And then my brother Bob, who's the oldest, 15 years older, he played football. So by the time I was a little kid, he was already moved out. About the time I was 5, he was already 20, so he was already moved out. And when I started playing sports, he kind of showed me a little bit of things for football. But it was most of my brother Christian, who's 2 years older than me. Me and him, the ones who played the most sports, competed with each other the most.
That's funny. I'm in a similar sense, actually. My next oldest brother, I'm the youngest of four boys. Christian was the one that always pushed me in basketball, and we were always going at it. So I can definitely relate there. And, like Pat said, we're both from small towns in Mass. Pat's out in Chicopee. I'm out in Eastern Mass in Easton, and you're kind of right in the middle being from Spencer. So can you talk about being from a small town and, was it always your goal to make it to the NFL, playing, childhood football and playing high school? And how did that goal develop?
Yeah. I mean, you always dream of playing professional sports, but like to actually do it, it's a dream, right? You don't actually think like, yeah, I'm gonna be in the NFL. Like, yep, it's a sure thing, it's gonna happen. Like, being from a small town, it's you just kind of hear stories of some people making it, some and a lot not. And for me, growing up, baseball was my biggest sport. I love baseball more than anything, and I love the Red Sox. And that's when the Red Sox, 2004 broke their whatever like 86-year-old curse, and they were really good, and I really loved them. And my dad coached me and my brother in little league and all the way up until high school, so it was a big sport for us growing up. And my mom didn't allow us to play football, and my brother Christian wanted to play so dang bad that she finally allowed him because he was a small kid, and I always tell people I was kind of like an average kid growing up. I wasn't tiny, I wasn't big, but like, I was okay. And she didn't want me to play football either. And then I didn't play until I only played 2 years before I got into high school. So like the NFL wasn't even, I liked the Patriots, but like it wasn't even my favorite sport at that time. I really wanted to be a major league baseball player, if anything, in any sport. I mean, still kind of do, what I'm saying? It's kind of the best sport to be playing. Um, but no, seriously, I don't know. I just kind of have always I never grew up as a kid being like, yeah, I want to be a dentist when I grow up. Like I never had that kind of dream job of what I wanted to do. I just kind of just did what I like doing and just kept going, I guess, at that point, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the next step after high school was you went up to the University of Maine, way up there, and you played a lot of defensive line. Can you talk about that transition from D line to fullback, and how did that happen?
When I got into the NFL, you're saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So when I was at Maine, I only played defensive line, and I'll take it back a step further. Even in high school, I didn't play defensive line in high school. I played linebacker on defense, and then offense. I played tight end my first 2 years, and then I played fullback my last 2 years.
Oh.
And it was a different offense, double wing offense. So it's not like a normal pro or college style offense. And then I got my scholarship to Maine, and I get there, and they want me to play D line, and I never played defensive line, so that was a transition in itself. And then I played defensive line there for 5 years, and then I'm trying to go in the NFL as a defensive lineman, and I was 300 pounds, so technically speaking, as an interior defensive lineman, that's undersized. It's really not, though. I mean, depends on how well you play, I guess. Like, Aaron Donald's 285. Is he undersized? Yes, he is, but it doesn't matter, right? So so it didn't matter for me. And so I got to the Ravens, and first week there, and they're kind of feeling guys out. As a rookie, you have a rookie mini camp, and then you have an OTAs, and that's with the whole team. And then at that point, you kind of already evaluate players and kind of what they've seen so far. And for our offense, Kyle Juszczyk just signed a big contract with the 49ers that offseason. So they lost him in free agency. And then all they had left at that position was a undrafted rookie with me and a running back they were trying to convert to a fullback. So pretty much after a week of seeing them, seeing me defensive line, they probably saw me. It was like, you know what? He has potential to maybe make our team as defensive lineman, but let's see what he can do at the fullback position or tight end position, because, we kind of need those spots right now, and he's an undrafted guy and whatever. And I'm just so thankful the Ravens even wanted to give me the opportunity to make this team anyway. So it was about, like I said, a weekend in OTAs, and Greg Roman, who was the tight ends and running game coordinator at the time, now he's our offensive coordinator. He came up to me and was just like, "Hey, Pat, we want to give you a rep at fullback in practice." And, of course, me being an undrafted guy, like, of course, like, I'm going to say yes to any opportunity they're going to give me, because I want to make the team. I didn't care if it was the water boy, the quarterback, a coach, like whatever I had to do. Right. So I do really well on my one play. And I was really smart too about how I approached ways to be seen, because being an undrafted guy, like, you really have to make a name for yourself or make plays every day, be consistent. So scouts see you, coaches see you, because they don't, and only one or two undrafted guys might make the team. And the Ravens are like one of the only teams in the league to have a streak of having an undrafted guy every year make the team. So like some teams, they don't even sign undrafted guys. So as soon as that play was over, I stood next to John Harbaugh, and I was just sitting next to him, and he just kind of like not saying anything. And he's like, and then he just looks at me. He's like, "You look like a natural doing that." And I was like, "Yeah, that's because I used to do it in high school, because I played fullback in high school." And then all of a sudden I looked at him, and he was just like, "Okay." I could tell that's when stuff started churning in his head. Like, okay. And I didn't know at the time his brother Jim at San Francisco, who also had Greg Roman on his staff, converted somebody to play fullback for them. So it was like a similar thing. So he probably thought, okay, my brother did it in the past with a big guy, like maybe I could do it with this guy. And I think me saying that and things like that, and then eventually from there, just snowballed to me getting more snaps on offense. And I was still playing defense, and that's how I became a two-way player. I just started to do both, and they allowed me to do both, and now here we are.
And do you enjoy still getting that?
Go
ahead, Chandler.
I was just going to say, it's got to be a pretty amazing feeling to be standing next to John Harbaugh and have him say, "You look like a natural playing that position." That must have done wonders for your confidence. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, like, never having doing it since high school. And then, and like I said, it's a completely different offense, like double wing offense. Like, do you guys know what a double wing offense is?
No, not
off the top
exactly.
of my head, no. Exactly.
Okay, so what this offense we ran in high school is all the linemen have 6-inch splits. So they're 6 inches from each other, all next to each other. And then they have two tight ends in line, and then you have wings, and then the quarterback's under center, and then the fullback has to touch the butt of the quarterback and then get in a stance. So everybody all is together, and all we do is run gap scheme. And literally our bread and butter, our number one play was 26 superpower. So like literally our quarterback under center gets the ball, pivots, pitches it to the wing, and then the wing runs the ball to the right. And while he does that, we have our left guard pulling, our left tackle pulling, our tight end Superman diving, cutting off the backside. And then we have our quarterback following the fullback and our two linemen, and then the quarterback leads up with me. So like it's not even like a normal offense at all. So then for me to do well on my one snap that they give me in a normal offense, and it was a 90 lead, so I had to lead up on the mic from the eye, and I never really did that in high school, and I did well. It's because I used to do some fullback stuff. So yeah, answers your question.
Yeah, no, that's incredible.
And I was going to ask as well, you kind of mentioned it, but coming out of UMaine undrafted, what was the experience like being signed by the Ravens shortly after the draft? Like, how did that whole situation go down? And were there other teams you had got to choose between?
Yeah, so my pre-draft stuff, like my visits and everything, I actually had maybe more visits and talks with teams than I did when I was going into college. So
Wow.
so I didn't go to the combine. I didn't go to any all-star games. So that's when teams get a chance to see me. So I had several private workouts with teams. I had multiple visits with teams. Like I went there, visited the facility and things like that. So I had teams that were interested. So when it came to the night of the draft, there was a chance of getting drafted, low rounds, but then towards the end, the middle of the sixth round, that's when I started to have phone calls just constantly calling me all the way through the seventh round. Just constantly had phone calls, and I had multiple offers to choose from teams. And, the reason why I picked the Ravens is they honestly recruited me so heavily. Like it wasn't like any other team. Like other teams, they would talk to me. They might have me for a visit. They might have me for a workout. And that was really it. But the Ravens, I didn't have a workout with them. I didn't have a visit with them. But I had the assistant D-line coach call me and text me several times a week for a month before the draft. The D-line coach called me. I had the defense coordinator call me. I had Harbaugh call me on draft day. Like it was just like insane, like how heavily they recruited me. And then it just felt like a good fit because I was trying to make it as a defensive lineman. And at that time, a couple of guys left in free agency. The younger players hadn't really played yet. Some were on IR, closer to home. Being from Massachusetts, obviously, it's only like a 7 hour drive. So it just felt like a good fit. And ultimately that's why I picked them. And, I had several other offers to choose from, but I just felt like the Ravens were the best fit. And luckily everything worked out for me for choosing them. So
Well, Pat's definitely happy to hear that as a Ravens fan. He loves watching you play. And that Ravens rushing attack is obviously one of the most fun to watch in football. So can you talk about being a main part of such a run heavy offense and what that is like?
I love it. I mean, playing fullback, you want to be a part of a team that runs the ball. So for us, the past 2 years, I just kicked my bar. Ouch.
Okay.
The last 2 years, we ranked number 1 in rushing in the whole NFL. And I mean, I think it's a big tribute to Greg Roman and kind of the schemes he makes week to week. I mean, this guy, we can have one play and he can change the formation, change the motion, but everything else is the exact same for us. But to a defense, it might look like a completely new or different play. So like, I think that's why we've had so much success running the ball. And obviously it helps having Lamar Jackson back there do his thing. And, teams aren't sure if he's going to keep it. He's going to give it to one of our great backs. And then, you have me and Nick Boyle leading up for them. And I mean, it's been amazing, man. And even 2019, when we broke most people don't know this, but in 2019, we broke the single season regular rushing record. We rushed for the most yards in an NFL season ever.
Wow.
Ever last 2 years ago.
I believe it.
Most people don't even know. And I'm like, how do you not know that we literally were the best rushing team ever? And then last year, we almost broke the single game rushing record. We almost had 400 and something yards a game for one game against the Bengals last year. So it's exciting to be a part of this offense, how much you run the ball. And occasionally I might get the ball in my hands, which is always fun to have. And I'm excited for next year to see how well we're going to do. So.
Absolutely. And one of the big changes going into next year, you guys are going to have some fans back, which I'm sure you were extremely excited for. Can you talk a little bit about last season and like the challenge that all the just strange things going on with COVID, the challenge that posed last year versus what you're looking forward to next year?
Yeah. I'll start off with the protocols and things like that. Like we had to follow so many different protocols throughout the year. At the start of the off season, we're all virtual. We weren't in person. We weren't practicing. We weren't in the building together. And it might happen this year. We don't even know what's going to happen with our OTAs. And people who don't know what an OTA is, it's organized team activities. It's essentially spring ball. It's a time for us to get together, work out, meet, have some helmeted practices. So it's a big time to develop and kind of just, see where we are as a team, but we might not even have it again this year. So that was a big challenge in itself. And then when it came time for training camp, COVID testing, we have to get tested from the start of training camp all the way until our last game. We got tested every single day. You had to go through a drive-through, get cotton swab. And it isn't that bad how they do it. They just go in your nose a little bit, they're not going up in your brain and scraping that. And so it was easy, but it was just something we had to do every single day. Every day. And then on top of that, as soon as you get in the building, they have these little chips called Connexons, and I hate them so much because you have to wear them at all times. Like you have to have it at all times, because if you don't, and somebody tests positive and they know you're either with them or next to them, but your Connexon doesn't say so, you can get fined $50,000.
Oh my goodness.
Or something, or like 15. No, I think it was like 15. The $50,000.
Yeah, even still.
Yeah, like it's just ridiculous. And then the $50,000 was, there's the cameras around the facility. The NFL had access to them, so they could like just look at it whenever they wanted. And if they see guys like blatantly not wearing masks, they could fine them $50,000. And then obviously you can get suspended. Things can happen. If there's an outbreak, then bad things can happen. And then, besides that, we just had to be separated at all times. Certain things we couldn't do, like they had to close down the saunas and just certain aspects. It made it a little more difficult and challenging to conduct business in the facility, but we were still able to do mostly everything. So that was the nice thing about it. We'll see how this year will be affected by COVID, but besides that, I mean, the other thing was not having fans at games or being around fans. And that was just kind of weird because, you're in stadiums and they're just kind of empty. So you kind of have to like bring your own energy and kind of still be like, this is still a game, in your own head. But at the same time, I kind of liked not having fans only because you have to think about it. Playing, especially me playing on offense, like I don't have to play in front of thousands and thousands of people who are just screaming. And you're like trying to hear the more, you're trying to hear your teammates, your coaches, and you're trying to think. And it's a little hectic. Yeah, and you have thousands of people just screaming, and it's kind of hard to concentrate or think. So it was nice not having as many people there, so you could really think. And like, it was rare sometimes, like being on the field, like if you're messing up or you didn't hear something or something, like our coaches would yell at us, and we could hear them, and they could coach us on the sideline. So that was a little different. So I'm definitely looking forward to having some fans this year. I'm not exactly sure if it's going to be 100%. It might be. I mean, you just saw Texas open up 100% with some of their stadiums, like baseball stadiums I saw. So you never know. It's definitely will be exciting to have fans again. I mean, it just makes it so much funner. Way more crazy environments to play in. So definitely looking forward to having fans again.
I can imagine. And well, now you've been selected as a Pro Bowler twice. And although the league didn't hold that actual game this year because of COVID, after your journey, what was it like to go to Orlando in 2020 and get to experience that?
Whenever I get asked about the Pro Bowl, I always say one word: surreal. It was very surreal. I mean, my journey to getting there itself was a surreal experience, and then just being there alone. I mean, it was my third year in the NFL 2 years ago when I went, and I only played an X amount of teams, right? So I haven't still seen a lot of players or played against them. So like to be in Orlando for a whole week, and it's super exclusive. Like we all stay at the same hotel. We have to have credentials on us. So when we're walking around, like they have to check them to make sure, you are who you are. So it was very exclusive in that way. And they were very good with family and friends coming down and like being there with the whole time with you. Like I had 10 people with me, and they do events. They had us at Universal Studio one night. They extended the park hours, so we literally had the whole park to ourselves, and mostly all the rides were open. And here I am getting on this. I got a Spider-Man ride with Derrick Henry and his family. I got on the Hulk ride, and there was Deshaun Watson hanging out with his girlfriend and just like whatever. And then I went walking down to Hogwarts, and there was Russell Wilson with Sierra, and then behind him was Drew Brees with his kids. Like it was insane. Like it was like almost like I paid like backstage access to be around all these people and to do it with my dad, my brother, and because they don't get to experience being around NFL players very much as I have for the past 3 years. And so just that alone, I mean, it was very surreal. And the fact to make it again this year, and unfortunately everything was virtual. It was supposed to be in Vegas too, so it was going to be a good time, whole week in Vegas, everything's going to be included because they pay for everything. Like even when we were at Universal, on the streets they had open bars of food, liquor, anything you wanted. It was all whatever you wanted. So it's a great time. They take care of you. And this past year, like I said, it was all virtual, so I literally didn't do anything for it. It was like very minimal things, and hopefully I get to make it again and get to experience another Pro Bowl week. So, it's a good time when it happens. So hopefully it does soon.
Yeah, we know you'll be back.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Especially in that rushing offense. Absolutely. Yeah. And Pat, our last question here is about your nickname, Pancake Pat. It's the first 5 comments on every Instagram you post. All the Ravens fans are hyped about it. Where did that name come from? It obviously works with what you do for a living, but where did that name start?
So people around here know me as Project Pat, and that's because Brandon Williams gave me that name my rookie year, and it kind of just spread throughout the building. And I actually liked it because it gave me a name, right? On the drafted guide, it gave me a name around the building. Everybody knew me as Project Pat, and that's how the fans in Baltimore knew me my first couple of years with the Ravens. And after my 3rd year of making the Pro Bowl, I signed a 2-year extension at that time. So I knew I was going to be in the city for 2 more years, and I'm on a great team. We just finished 14-2, and unfortunately lost to the Titans, but I know, like, okay, now's the time to start branding myself. So like, what can I do to like get my name out there more and people to know me more and more opportunities for myself? So it came up with a logo I'm actually wearing right now. It's my Pat Ricard logo, and came up with this design. And then we came up with the website. So I have a website, thepatrickricard.com, and it has my gear on there and a bunch of other things. And so then fast forward to the season this past year, and the way I was playing, I was pancaking guys like every game, every other game. Like I was getting a couple guys on their backs, and that's called a pancake block. And in the NFL world, those blocks don't happen very often. I mean, these defensive players are very physical, strong guys who attack us at the same speed and violence we attack them. So it's usually stalemates, or you might drive guys back. The guys are very athletic to where they're not going to fall on their back. So for me to be doing that, I mean, it was an accomplishment. So I was like talking to my branding guys and the marketing people that helped me with my website, and how can we brand something else? And before all this happened, my name, Project Pat, has other variants to it throughout the building and with the Ravens. I had some guys start calling me Party Pat. When I made the Pro Bowl, they started calling me Pro Bowl Pat. When I signed my 2-year extension, they called me Paid Pat. It was just, it kind of like was this little like thing with my name, and I liked it. I thought it was cool, and everyone else liked it too. So I'm like, okay, what else could I do? I'm like, why don't I make a shirt or something cool and have it Pancake Pat and start marketing myself as that, because I'm playing like that. It's clever. And we did it, and the t-shirt came out very well. And we have a t-shirt, we have a hoodie. And then Lamar called me Pancake Pat in an interview. That helped a lot. And guys started calling me Pancake Pat even before I came up with the t-shirt, because just how I was playing and how guys always gave me those little nicknames. And I'm open to any nickname. That's why people were like, what are you now? Are you Project Pat? Are you Pro Bowl Pat? Are you Pancake Pat? I'm like, I'm everything, man. And that's how my career has been. I've been ever expanding. I played multiple positions for this team. I have multiple nicknames. So there might be more nicknames to come. You never know. Next year I might be, I don't know, who knows, something. You never know. You have to
something that starts with a P. Yep.
Yeah. Pretty much.
We're waiting on it. Pass catching Pat, man. Something's coming.
Pastor Pat. That's what I was thinking of doing when I pancake somebody and they're on the ground. I could just pastor him, say a little prayer for him.
That's a good one.
Pastor
Yeah.
Pat, I love it.
You never know. That's the fun about it.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on, Pat. We wish the Ravens the best of luck in 2021. I'll be rooting for you guys. You can follow Pat on Instagram and Twitter at PRIC508. Check out his website for thepatrickricard.com for great merch. I checked out the Pancake Pat shirts, and be sure to be on the lookout. Yeah, be sure to be on the lookout for some of his devastating blocks next year as well.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on. Thank you again, man.
Mm-hmm.